just start recording, Keith. It's fine. Oh, it's got it. All right. Thank you. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. So thank you for joining us. As I said, we're recording for those who couldn't attend. So we're expecting nearly 80 people to join us for the annual meeting. Some of you were on with us for the March preview that we did. So this will be a refresher for you, but others just registered on the deadline. So this will be new for you. And we have more logistics information, of course, than we did 4 months ago. You should have received on Monday a copy of what we hope is the final schedule along with an attendee guide. If you did not receive that, you should check your junk mail or promotions folder, because if you got an email about this, that means you got an email with those documents on Monday. I think it was programmed to go out Monday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. So that's about when you should have gotten it. But when you registered, you received a list of the planning committee suggestions for your free time in Chicago. But to start us off, we wanted to supplement that and allow you to meet the committee members who are behind the annual meeting. So I'm going to introduce each of them, and they're going to share their favorite place to go or eat in Chicago that you should consider adding to your Chicago itinerary. If you don't see the slides, there's a slider on the left where you can adjust so that you have more or less of the slides and everybody's faces for those who are able to have their cameras on. So first up, I'm not sure, is Jan on? Let's see. I guess she's not. She has a dinner, so I know she has to leave early, but she may be running late as well. So hopefully we'll be able to come back to Jan, but she is the host of our Friday night welcome party alongside Chicago Club Treasurer Rich Aaron. And she recommended the bean, but we'll save that in case she's able to join and can tell you more about it. You'll get a great view of the bean, though, from the annual meeting location, which is just across Michigan Avenue from Millennium Park, which is where the bean is located. Next up is Janine, but Janine is in Switzerland, so I don't think she's on. She is the past Chicago Club president and member of the International Board of Governors, and she has organized the Saturday morning Chicago Cultural Center tour and Art Institute tour as a member of the planning committee. And she'll also be our MC for everything on Saturday around lunchtime when we have the annual meeting, and then we have a break, and then we have lunch, and then we have our keynote speaker. And she recommended the Art Institute of Chicago. So that brings us to Jim Franch, who's the Circumnavigators Club treasurer and president and webmaster of the Chicago Club. And he has been organizing the annual meeting and all of the events Saturday at the Cliff Dwellers Club. So Jim, do you want to tell us about Billy Goat Tavern?
Billy Goat Tavern is a great restaurant. And as some of you know, Chicago is a city of neighborhoods, and Greektown is definitely a neighborhood. And it's a famous place. The cheeseburger is iconic, as is the Pepsi and the chips. No fries. And if you're not into that sort of thing, it's underneath the Tribune Tower in Lower Wacker, which is the scene of many movies. I would recommend the Greek Islands in actual Greektown, but I prefer Billy Goat's.
All right, good deal. Thank you, Jim. Next up is Mary Houston. She's a past board member of the planning committee, and she has been organizing the Sunday farewell luncheon at Navy Pier. So Mary, do you want to tell us about Lake Point Tower? You're on mute though, Mary. Mary, we can't hear you.
Oh, here we go.
There we go. Perfect.
Is that better now?
Yep,
yes.
We can hear you now.
Okay, excellent. The name of this conference was Make No Little Plans. And when Burnham made these plans, he intended that there would not be any buildings east of Lakeshore Drive, except the Lake Point Tower has broken that rule. It's the only building that was built east of Lake Point Tower. This has a very interesting history. It was completed in about 1967, and the land was originally owned by the Chicago Dock and Canal Company, and the Dock and Canal Company approved the building of this building somehow without telling the city fathers. And by the time the city fathers came to know about this, the foundation had been dug and they were starting to build the building up. So they couldn't stop it, but they stopped any other building east of Lakeshore Drive. So if you come to Navy Pier on Sunday afternoon, you will definitely see Lake Point Towers, which I think is very iconic for its three-wing structure and its general, I don't know, beauty is the only word I can think for a building.
All right, Mary, thank you. Next up, we have Dan Peterson, who's president of the Circumnavigators Club and member of the planning committee. You'll all be welcome to Chicago when you attend the welcome party Friday night at Jan and Rich Aaron's home, because Dan will be in the lobby of the condo building to direct you and greet you. Dan, do you want to talk about the lock?
Yeah, sure. One of the coolest things about my hometown, Chicago, is the reversal of the Chicago River, reversing the river in the late 1800s. In the 1800s, Chicago was one of the fastest growing cities in the world. And unfortunately, that meant all the sewage got dumped into the Chicago River and went out into the lake right on our beautiful beaches and shoreline. So the city fathers came up with a very ambitious project to reverse the river. And that involved creating this lock right here at the connection of the river to Lake Michigan that allowed the higher lake water to pour into the river and reverse the flow of the river. And then a canal was dug at the other end of the river to connect it to the Des Plaines River and ultimately to the Mississippi River. So it's really cool. You can see it from Navy Pier. You can see it from Lake Point Tower. In fact, Lake Point Tower is in the distance in this photo here at the left. You can see it even from the Cliff Dwellers Club, and it's quite a cool thing to see.
All right, thank you, Dan. Next up is Keith Sparrow. He's on the planning committee, hosting the Saturday morning photo walk, designed the logo for the conference, has been running a lot of the registration and online things, and is my co-host for the Saturday evening water taxi ride and dinner in Chinatown. Keith, do you want to talk about the Statue of the Republic?
Sure. Statue of the Republic is down in Jackson Park, and it is a 1/3 replica of the statue that existed at the World's Columbian Exposition in 1893. And exposition was designed by Olmsted and Burnham, and a few things still remain around the Chicagoland area. You can actually, if you do a little internet research, find a couple ticket booths. I know there's at least one in Oak Park that survives, and there's obviously the building of the Museum of Science and Industry down in Jackson Park. And now with the introduction of the new Obama Presidential Center, there's all kinds of sprucing up of the trails and the area down around there. Frederick Olmsted's Japanese garden is down there, and it's probably an unknown treasure to many people. Take a little walk and go see that park. And of course, the Midway is the original Midway where the Ferris wheel sat. So the grounds of the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition and the 1/3 replica of the Statue of the Republic.
All right. And finally, we have Jackie Winship. She's the Chicago Vice President for Membership, and she's the planning committee member who has organized the Sunday morning architecture boat cruise. And she's going to talk to us about tea at the Drake. Jackie.
So if you want to experience a little bit of old Chicago elegance, afternoon tea at the Drake is a great choice. It opened in 1920, the Drake did, and quickly became one of the city's classic gathering places where you might have run into Winston Churchill or Eleanor Roosevelt or Bing Crosby or Charles Lindbergh. And then inside it is the Palm Court, which is in the picture at the left. You can see a really good view of it. And it's hosted tea for generations. And some people who really know their tea have been guests there, including Queen Elizabeth and Lady Di and the Empress of Japan. So it's not just tea, it's a chance to step into Chicago history for an afternoon. It's on right where the Magnificent Mile meets the Gold Coast at Michigan and Oak. And You can have afternoon tea there, and then you can walk 5 minutes and see 5 minutes south and see the 1869 water tower, which is one of the few buildings that survived the Chicago fire. And it's a stone castle-like building that's pretty cool, with these skyscrapers rising all around it. So tea is served 12 to 4:30 on the weekends. It would be a great alternative for Friday lunch or a nice Friday afternoon refresher. Dress code is smart casual. Usually takes about 90 minutes, and you can make a reservation on Open Table.
All right, it's a really nice place to go. I when we were preparing for this, I told Jackie, though, unfortunately, I've been to Tea at the Drake many times, yet somehow I have a lot more pictures of tea at American Girl Place, which is quite close by, but it's a very different experience than tea at the Drake. So it's a great tip. And I'm Amy Gardner. For those of you I don't already know, I'm the Vice President of Programs for the Chicago Club and Chair of the Annual Meeting Planning Committee. Two of my favorite activities to do with visitors to Chicago are the Loop Tour by L Train, which I've organized for Saturday morning, and some of you are going on, and the Water Taxi to Chinatown, which we're going to Saturday night. So instead, my favorite Chicago restaurant, I shared this at the preview back in March, but a couple of people have asked for restaurant suggestions, so I'm reminding you of this one. Chicago is a restaurant town, so it's hard to pick. I would start with Open Table for places that are nearby, because they have a lot of reviews on Open Table, so places near your hotel. But Frontera Grill is a Chicago institution. It's a sit-down Mexican restaurant in River North. It has won about every award that there is. The sister restaurant Topolobampo next door has a Michelin star and is fine dining. But Frontera is a much more, I would say, approachable place. Reservations are very necessary, and you can make them online. So my recommendation is Frontera Grill. All right. So let's jump into our agenda for this call. We're going to talk about some logistics. We're going to talk about the itinerary. We're going to talk about recommended preparations, and then we're going to have Q&A. So if you have questions as we go, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you can hold them till the end, and we will do all of that. So in terms of logistics, for those of you, when you arrive in Chicago, if you are coming from an airport, you can take the train from O'Hare or from Midway. Both have CTA train stops. O'Hare runs 24/7 from O'Hare. It's $5 on the Blue Line, and it gets you downtown in under an hour. I will say that there is some construction. There's always construction. So I would not time it so that you needed to be downtown in exactly 60 minutes. From Midway, it's about half an hour, and it's $2.50 to $5 on the Orange Line, and takes about 20 minutes, depending on, about half an hour, depending on whether you're getting an all-day pass or if you have a discount because of age or whatever, et cetera. You can get Lyft, you can get Uber, you can take taxis from both airports, and you can pre-book a car. Those are all options as well. In terms of accommodation, as we've said all along, stay wherever you like. It looks like many of you are staying in hotels close to 200 North Michigan Avenue. Those will be the most convenient options for you. Once you are in town from the airport, getting around Chicago, we highly recommend using Uber, Lyft, or CTA, which is the Chicago Transit. So that's buses or the subway. Taxis are much harder to come by. And one warning on Uber and Lyft, in Chicago, they can take quite a while. I mean, yesterday, Keith and I were leaving at 5:30 in the morning to go to O'Hare, and it was about a 12-minute wait right downtown. So you definitely want to make sure you give yourself a few minutes. I know in some cities it's like 60 seconds and Uber's there. That is not Chicago, unfortunately, right now. So it looks like there are some questions, so I'll just buzz through those. Can I use a credit card to access the subway, and will it work coming from Chicago to town? Yes. But if you buy an all-day pass on the CTA, rather than just swiping your credit card, if you buy a pass from a machine, that might be a better deal for you. What is the name of the Michelin star restaurant that I said was near hotel? It depends. Everybody's staying at different hotels. Topolobampo is next door to Frontera Grill, which is on Clark Street. And then can you get entrance to the new Obama Museum on a standby basis? I don't think so. You can enter to see, you can visit the gift shop and the restaurant, and you can go in the Chicago Public Library that they have built there without a ticket. You just get in line for those. But at least when I was there, they were not admitting anyone who did not have a ticket. Okay. But it is definitely worth the trip to Hyde Park to see it. And if you can get a ticket, it's really fantastic. Okay, so let's move on to the theme. There have been questions about that. If you can go to the next slide, it's so make no little plans is what we've been calling it and talking about, and that is based around the Chicago architecture, the Chicago World's Fairs, rather. That Daniel Burnham famously said, "Make no little plans," and that's kind of what led to became the theme for how we have planned all of the optional tours, all of the events. Have been planned around showing, relating back to Chicago's history, Chicago's architecture, and then also our keynote speaker on Saturday will be looking forward to the future of Chicago and the region. So just some logistics for you. Dress code for everything is resort casual. Chicago is a really casual city. And at the end of August, it is likely to be very, very hot. So we encourage you to plan accordingly. I don't know, other than going to court or perhaps funerals. I'm not sure the last time I saw someone in Chicago in a tie. So definitely not necessary. And again, plan for hot weather. We are kicking off the weekend on Friday with an optional tour of the Jardine Water Treatment Facility. That is full and has been full since right after registration opened. And then Friday night, we'll go into our welcome party that everyone is invited to. And that one is going to have tastes of Chicago. Keith, if you could go to the next slide. We're going to have Chicago-focused heavy hors d'oeuvre. Oh, there's a slide about the two World's Fairs that were held in Chicago in 1893 and 1933. So that's, again, related to our theme. So Jardine Water Treatment Facility. And then after that, everyone is welcome to the Friday night welcome party with different tastes of Chicago. That'll be at Jan and Rich Aaron's house. And there is going to be an icebreaker activity to help get you to know your fellow attendees. Saturday then starts with optional tours. So as you probably received several emails about, you can only do one tour because they're at the same time. One person explained to me last week, I see he's not on the call, he explained to me that he had registered for multiple tours to save spots for himself so he could decide later. And I think we have corrected all of that. So if you got a cancellation notice, read it before you panic, and it was probably just canceling you out of one of a duplicate registration. So although some of the tours are at places that you can visit on your own, for all of them, we've arranged exclusive private tours for our group. And the cost for that is included in your registration. You might have a transport cost, but the cost of the tour itself has been included in your registration. I have to say, I know it's on the attendee guide, I know it's on the schedule, but it's really important you be prompt for your tour because they can't wait. In some situations, people are literally meeting and then getting on a bus. So there is no chance to wait for you. Just before the annual meeting, you'll get an email reminder of what tour you're going on. And as it says in the attendee guide, the tours are staggered departure times. So it's really important that you check to see what time yours is. If you are on the Art Institute tour, you are leaving from the Modern Wing, and I'll show you that in a second. Everybody else who's doing a Saturday morning tour, this is where you're leaving from. So I said in the Facebook group for Circumnavigators, I shared a photo of this cow. This is where we're meeting. So she is a remnant of a citywide art project for many years ago called Cows on Parade. And that is where we will meet to get you into your tour groups. So look for that, again, unless you're on the Art Institute tour. So just to give you a preview of the actual tours, one group has a private tour of the Chicago Cultural Center. And I think if you go to there we go. That's another picture of the meeting place. So you can see that. And then, so one group has a tour of the Chicago Cultural Center. And that was originally built in 1897 as the first central public library in Chicago. So it's really interesting. It has one of the world's largest stained glass Tiffany domes. And it's really a nice tour to experience. Other folks will go on a tour of the loop on an elevated train. And so they will be trotting around by train, and your L pass is included in your registration for that one, since it's necessary to be able to do it. If you're disappointed to not have registered in time to join that tour, there is a public version you can take on Friday, August 28th for $35 through the Architecture Foundation. So if you didn't get in on the L tour, you can register for that one. It's just we don't have spots left in our private group. History buffs will have a group tour to the Chicago History Museum. And that group, again, this is part of why we can't hold tours for latecomers. You can meet at the Cultural Center, take the CTA bus to the museum together, have the private guided tour, and then come back to the Cliff Dwellers Club where our annual meeting is with a group, or you can meet the group directly at the Chicago History Museum. So if you are a Chicagoan who doesn't want to trek to the Cultural Center before going to the History Museum, you can meet at the History Museum. So, and then there's also a loop photo walk led by Keith. And a loop walking tour led by a Chicago greeter, which is a Chicago resident who's also a trained volunteer guide. And they'll be going all around the loop. And then finally, an Art Institute tour organized by Janine Blum. And for that one, again, you meet at the Art Institute Modern Wing. And I'm stressing that because if you find yourself at the Cultural Center at the time that you need to be at the Modern Wing, it is going to be a sprint to try to catch up with the group. So you want to make sure you go directly to the Modern Wing. So that is the Saturday morning tours. Does anybody have any questions specifically about the Saturday morning tours? Oh, someone is asking if you need to show the QR code. No, you will need to be we'll be checking your names. Oh. Yeah. One person already emailed and asked if they could, if they showed up before a friend that they knew was going on a tour, if they could just have the friend's spot if they were there first using the friend's name. And I said, well, you will have a name tag. So make sure you show up for the correct tour. Do not try to steal your friend's spot.
Or just steal your friend's name tag.
maybe that's the solution, but probably not what we're endorsing today. But any questions about the various Saturday morning tours? All right, well, let's move on then to the festivities around lunchtime. So whether you're taking advantage of the Saturday morning tour or not, we hope to see you at the annual meeting portion of the weekend, which will be held at the Cliff Dwellers Club. And it has amazing views of Grant Park, Millennium Park, the Art Institute, and Lake Michigan. So it's a nice space itself, but part of why we picked it was its history, because it was the predecessor club was founded in 1907, but also we picked it in part because of these views that you can enjoy from an outdoor patio. So at 11:30 that day, we'll have a cash bar and time to mingle. And so after your tour, you may or may not have time to go back to your hotel, depending on where you're staying and which tour you're doing. So it really depends on where you're going. So you might want to just dress for the day when you go out on your tour. So it will have cash bar, time to mingle from 11:30 to 12. Then at 12, we'll have the annual meeting itself. And then after a short break from 1 to 1:15, lunch will be served at 1:15. So if you are not planning to attend the annual meeting itself, well, first of all, no gold star for you. But if you are planning on skipping the annual meeting piece of it and you just want to come for lunch, please plan to arrive between 1 and 1:15, because we will have the annual meeting in the same room as lunch. And so it'll be a little disruptive if people are showing up early to lunch / late for the annual meeting. And then after we have time to eat our lunch and get to know your table mates, there'll be a keynote address from Aaron Allman, Executive Director of the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. And so after so many tours and things focused on the past in Chicago, Aaron's going to talk about Chicago's future. There are two special editions that we have added to this annual meeting that I don't think have been done before. So Keith, you want to talk about those two special editions for people attending the annual meeting? You talk about the pin. You designed
Okay,
it. So
everyone's going to get a pin. This will be a lapel pin of the logo um, of the conference, and it's a special edition. So you'll want to steal your friends as well. And then we're going to do a photo. We're going to do a photo challenge during the tour. Need not be on the photo walk to partake in the challenge. But the photo challenge rules will be as are on the screen here, but they might be a little small, so I'm going to read them. Each person may enter 2 photos in 2 categories. Chicago is one category, keeping that as wide open as possible, and Circumnavigators. And that is intended so that we get some pictures of our Circumnavigators. Images must be submitted in JPEG file, and there is a naming convention here that will make life easier for those sorting out the pictures. And this will all be on a card that you'll get, I think, at the opening reception or in the morning on Saturday. Images can be taken with any camera. You can take it if you want to get film developed. Let me know. I can tell you where you can get some film developed. Otherwise, iPhones are great, and or any digital camera. So feel free to use whatever you use most. Images have to be submitted no later than 9 p.m. on Saturday evening of the meeting, because on Sunday we're going to bring out all the images of the event. So a winner and a runner-up will be chosen in each of the 2 categories and awarded a certificate for as their prize. Again, there's an email here. You don't have to write that down now. You'll get a sheet with it, but we want you to submit those via email that evening. And then we will, I believe we're going to have a slideshow of pictures of the Chicago meeting. And then they will be sent over to the folks who put together the log and probably published in there. So then you'll be a published photographer at that point. So that's the photo challenge for the weekend. Of course, those of you who are registered for the photo walk, you might have a little bit of an edge, but you will only have an edge in that we'll be taking pictures for an hour or so. And everybody else will be taking pictures at their tours too. So not too much.
All right. So with those, we have the pins that everyone will get at the annual meeting itself, and then the photo contest where the winners will be announced on Sunday. And as Keith said, the log will be looking to republish some of the pictures that are submitted. So you may get contacted by Roger Baker on Sunday or Monday asking for a caption. He will need you to turn that around in like 27 seconds so that he can actually get them printed in by the deadline for the log. So backing up then to after the annual meeting, there is everybody will be excused or dismissed or whatever about 3:00. And that it does not include, however, our members of the International Board of Governors who will have a separate meeting afterwards. So after Aaron's keynote, after everything wraps up at the lunch, then they'll have a meeting. For everybody else, we'll have a little bit of free time. And Saturday evening, you can take advantage of those recommended activities we sent out before. You can explore on your own. For those who don't want to have to figure out a different option on their own, you can enjoy an informal self-host outing to Chicago's Chinatown. So what you'll do for that is you'll meet Keith and me at the Chicago Water Taxi Michigan Avenue stop, which is just, if you walk out of the Cliff Dwellers, you turn left, you just walk north on Michigan Avenue, and you will get, eventually you'll cross the river, and on your left will be the water taxi stop. So from there, we'll board the yellow water taxi for the 45-minute ride to Chinatown. And all day, so round trip, but you can go more than that those times. Water taxi pass is $20, and you can buy it in advance online, or you can get it at the dock, or they'll let you pay on the boat for a little bit of a surcharge. One note here, the water taxis have been really busy this summer. So if you come screeching in at 4:50, you probably will not get on the boat. So you want to make sure that you get there as early as you can. for the water taxi ride. When we get to the Chinatown dock, we will give you maps that show some different restaurant choices, and we'll walk you to the main area where you can either just pick a place based on what you see through the window or go off of one of those suggestions. There are options in Chicago's Chinatown for Korean barbecue, more Americanized and traditional Chinese food, Korean fried chicken, and there are spots that specialize in dumplings, soup dumplings, or sushi spots. So there are lots and lots of choices. After your dinner, then you can either ride the water taxi back at the indicated time. So we'll tell you when we get there what time we're going to try to get the water taxi back, or you can just go back on your own. If you want to stay later in Chinatown, you can take an Uber back, you can take a Lyft, or you can take the CTA elevated train, which is just about a block from where most of the restaurants are. So those are all options for you. All right, with that, let's go to Sunday morning. For Sunday morning, Jackie will be, and Kent will be greeting you if you want to go on the architecture boat cruise. It's on the river, and it is held, or the one we suggest and that Jackie is taking group on is run by the Architecture Center. And it's really it's ranked as like, I think, #1 TripAdvisor activity in the country, or one of them in the country, certainly in Chicago. There are other river cruises, but we recommend this particular one, the First Lady, because it is just more, it's definitely more substantive than some of the others. So if you do want to go with a group, you need to buy your ticket for the 10 a.m. cruise directly through the Architecture Center website. That is not included in your annual meeting registration. It looks like about a fourth or a third of the attendees are going to be doing that. Boats do go rain or shine, but there is an enclosed air-conditioned area if you don't want to sit outside. I think Keith were you able to paste that in the chat? No. Let's see. I'll put the link in the chat. All right. And one note, if you are doing the water taxi ride, you should still do the architecture cruise, because it's a totally different experience. So, all right. So that is Sunday morning. And then Sunday lunch, we have our farewell lunch at Navy Pier. It's actually at Lyrica Restaurant, which is inside the Hilton Hotel at Navy Pier. So that is the lunch where we're going to announce prizes for the photo contest. And it'll just be a nice way to wrap up the weekend. Have great views from Navy Pier, and Lyrica is a great restaurant. So we do recommend, there are very specific instructions about how to take an Uber or Lyft to Navy Pier. If you're doing the architecture cruise, you can certainly walk there if you're up for a 1.5-ish mile walk. So that's an option as well. So that will be our technical end of the annual meeting, but we wouldn't be Chicago if we didn't try to do things a little bit bigger, which is why we are not really ending with the farewell lunch. After lunch, you're invited to a casual open house at the home of club member Carol Summers. She and her husband, Nick, bought an 1878 Queen Anne style home and completely restored it. And it even has a speakeasy where you can have a beverage on your way to O'Hare. So you will get a flyer that has this information on it, as well as it is in your attendee guide and it's on your schedule. It has directions on how to take the L to Carol's house, stop by, have a drink, and then get back on the L. Or you, of course, could just take a Lyft or an Uber straight from Navy Pier, depending on how you wanted to go. So that will be our last event. Before we shift into preparations, any questions about any of the events or logistics for any of those that we've talked about? And for the question about the name tags, so some of the clubs have hard reusable name tags. Because of that, we're not going to waste the money and the resources to do just event name tags. So everyone will wear their Circumnavigators name tag. So you'll get that name tag when you check in Friday at Jan and Rich's house. Or if you don't come Friday night, you'll check in at the annual meeting itself and you'll get that hard name tag. But that will be the only name tag you get. We will not have other name tags for the meeting. Any other questions at all about any of the events. Yes. So I know it's on your packing list like 20 times, or in the materials like 20 times, but yes, please bring your name tag because otherwise you will not have one. All right. So for recommended preparations, these are the same as we talked about in March. The Blues Brothers that was just on TV again the other day, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, of course, The Bear. If you watch The Bear, it really is sort of a love letter to Chicago. And there are a lot of great Chicago restaurants and parts of Chicago featured in it. Becoming by Michelle Obama. She talks a lot about different parts of Chicago and neighborhoods. The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. He talks about basically crime around the time of the World's Fair, but it's interesting. City of the Century, Working, the 1909 Plan of Chicago by Daniel Burnham and Edward Bennett. That's where Daniel Burnham, again, being the make no small plans guy. Chicago Poems by Carl Sandburg. So those are all some suggestions if you want to do more to get ready. And then again, bring your name tag. All right. So what questions does everybody have?
Amy, first of all, excellent job. This is fantastic. This is really fantastic.
Thank you.
And my question's for Dan. Hey, Dan, we've had a lot of meetings like in New York, right? And there weren't that many people at the meetings I've attended in New York, and the one in DC, we had okay, but this looks like this could probably be one of the biggest annual meetings we've ever had, right?
That's right. I mean, my history is 17 years long, so I can't speak for before then. But I've been attending these meetings for 17 years, and 80 people would probably be the record.
Yeah, cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I got to say, I mean, Jackie and Mary and Jan and Jim and Dan and Janine and Keith, is there anybody I'm forgetting? We've been meeting for a year. So
A lot of work.
we appreciate kudos. And anybody who does not show up, I will fly to your house and strangle you because we have done a lot of work to prepare for you to come to Chicago. So we really want you to come to Chicago. We're excited to have such a big group. So, any questions that anybody has at all? I mean, I know everybody's an experienced traveler, but maybe you haven't been to Chicago recently. I know some people haven't been to Chicago at all. So.
Amy, I think,
Yeah.
are we going to have like a roster of who's going to attend so we can reach out to people?
I think that's something we could do. I don't know how people feel about having their info shared, but we could certainly share, I think, a list of the names, even if we can't necessarily share like their email addresses.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that seems, Dan, are there any concerns about like the privacy or anything like that Circumnavigators would have?
Nope, as long as we share it with members to members. So
okay,
all members have access to the roster. It's on the website. So by all means, you should share the names and email addresses for all the people that are attending among the members that are attending.
I don't actually have a membership list though. So I think Jim, we would need Jim to like go through Jim Branch, not Jim Woodward. Though, hey, if Jim Woodward wants to do it, I'm sure Jim Branch would welcome that. I think to go through that list and see who the members are and who, because I know there's a couple unmember guests. But yeah, that should be something we can do shortly before. Any other questions at all? So Keith, I think somebody just unmuted. I saw a flash. All right, maybe I'm just imagining things. So Keith and I are leaving on vacation. We're on a work trip right now, and tomorrow we will drive from Albany to JFK to catch a Friday morning 1 a.m. flight, and then be off email for a week. So if you do have questions, you feel free to email, but just know that there'll be a delay until I get back to you when we're back. So if that's part of why we scheduled this for tonight to answer any outstanding questions. But hopefully everybody you have the attendee guide, you have the schedule. Those both have a lot of details in them. And we will, of course, fill your inboxes before you arrive. But we're really excited to have so many people coming, and I think it's going to be a really great weekend. So thank you all for trusting us with a weekend and signing up. And thanks for being here tonight. I'll hang around for a few more minutes if people have other questions that they think of.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
See her offline.
You know, I just wanted to say also, Chicago is a very walkable city, and anybody that wants to walk from the cultural center up to the Cliff Dwellers Club, it's only about 5 blocks. So
Yeah.
just be aware of that. It's not impossible to walk in Chicago. I do it all the time. So.
And we'll have members of the Cultural Center tour who will be ready, including Mary, ready to herd you, to guide
right.
you to the Cliff Dwellers Club. So
and that's
you will not
exactly
be
how I
wandering around
intend to
lost.
get there, is by walking from the Cultural
Yes.
Center to the Cliff Dwellers Club.
Yes.
So
you will not be you will not be alone unless you want to be.
excellent. I don't wish to be alone.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you soon.
Yep. See you soon. Hope you enjoy it. Have a good trip.
Luck to you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Luck to you.